Welcome to What's the Effort?
What the F?
Hello, everyone. I had to warn my guest, Gary, about my intro.
It's cute. A little long, maybe, but cute.
It's only long because you and I don't have as much time left in life.
Ah, are you saying we're old?
No, I'm saying I'm old.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, everyone's,
I think I'll owe up to it too,
I think we're all getting older. But I'd like to say hello to one and all. And I would like to welcome Gary. Gary is my guest today, Chefetz. Am I saying it right?
Close. Chefetz.
Chefetz.
Yeah.
Now,
Chef with an S.
Chefetz. You
There
know
you
what?
go.
You could do What the Chefetz. You could do
What the
a
Chefetz.
podcast, What the Chefetz. And people would say, well, I'll learn his last name. I'm working on just the first name. But anyways, thank you so much for coming.
It is my absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, thank you.
Any time I get to hang with you is great time. So
He's a good liar. He's a good liar.
yeah, yeah. Effie and I get on the phone. It's 2 hours minimum. I'm not lying. Trust me.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Anyhow, well, I am very, very pleased to have Gary on because for those of you who are not in sub 2, you should know that Gary is very accomplished and he's very much respected in our community. Before sub 2, he had a pretty successful career. And as a result, how can you not value somebody who already comes in with a lot? So, Gary, tell us what you were doing before you got into real estate. What was your previous life like? And you can start at birth if you wish.
I think that's a little too long a story. All right. How do you do? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a 2-time college dropout. I'll admit that. I both times college was just moving too slow for me. I'm what they call autodidactic is the term, but I can teach myself just about anything.
Wow.
And all of my learning has been self-propelled. So I've been in the publishing business. I've been in technology consulting business. Mainly startups. I've actually worked on a startup in the women's fashion industry.
Wow.
Yeah, right. There's a little thing you didn't know about me.
Yeah.
I know more about the way women shop than most men do.
And most women, I'll bet.
I don't know about that. I mean, I learned, men and women are so different when it comes to buying clothes. Men find a pair of pants they like, they buy it in 4 colors, right? Women would never in a million years do that, or not many of them. Women buy looks, right? So men just, those shoes fit, I'll take them in black and brown. That shirt works, they have 4 colors, I'll buy all 4 colors, right? Women don't do that. Men buy pieces, women buy ensembles. So there's my little, very tiny little bit of insight. I learned everything I know about merchandising from that experience.
That's funny. Well, let's start with the technology. Did the fashion come after technology or before?
Technology, 2 things that have been a constant in my life have been real estate and technology.
Oh.
So on and off, I've done real estate development projects since I was in my 20s, on and off. And technology has always been a feature of my life because I'm good at it. I learn it very quickly. I can master software. I did self-taught, learned to code back and did write software for years back in the old days of monochrome monitors back then. But my technology skills have always improved my success in my businesses. Like
Wow.
back in the 80s, I figured out how to set up my publishing business for half or less than the cost of other competitors in the marketplace by adapting what was generally looked at as incompatible technologies and making them work together. Things
Wow.
so that's always been like that little superpower has always allowed me to have an upper hand, an edge in competing against other people in business.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And how old were you when you started doing that?
Well, when I started playing with computers, it was before Apple, before Microsoft, back in the days of CPM machines,
Yep.
we're going to bore people with how far back we're going here, but Trash 80s, they were called. Epson made some.
Mhm.
Ultimately, in my business, I used Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC, as it was called. That company went out of business. Of course, the CEO of that company said after Bill Gates came out with his computer in every home, the CEO of DEC replied or sniped back at him like, what would anybody do with a computer in their home? Now, of course, we've got one in every pocket, right?
Right. And in the home.
So that fella's business didn't make it. He
No.
failed to have a big enough vision.
For sure, for sure. And it's also interesting that you would have the vision of taking technologies that normally didn't work together and mesh them so that they did. That's really a skill in itself. So, as someone in real estate, I think that you would more than likely be called an integrator because of that. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as an integrator, or are you a visionary, or are you just so unique we can't put a label on it?
Well, when I do that rocket fuel test, I score pretty close. So I lean a little towards integrator. I've worn the CEO hat. I've worn the COO hat in my day. And you know what? I kind of like the COO hat better. But if it weren't for my visionary skills, the businesses wouldn't have succeeded.
Got it.
So, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have enough vision to uh, be able to figure out what a good go-to-market strategy is. So there are a lot of people that have great ideas, right? Great product ideas. They can create the product, but they fail to find a go-to-market strategy that works. And I learned the hard way that having a vision alone is not enough. Having that go-to-market strategy is what's going to make you or break you in business. And most people don't realize that. They'll spend a lot of time doing pro formas, spreadsheets. This is what we can make. Here's how it's going to work. Oh, what's your go-to-market strategy? How are you going to reach those customers?
Very
And if you
interesting.
don't have a plan for that, you're not going to succeed. I don't care how brilliant you are, how great your product is. So I learned with the first business that I didn't have a good go-to-market strategy, and that was the missing piece. I learned the hard way that business didn't make it, the first one, but the second one was an instant wild success.
What was the first one and what was the second one?
First one was a small leather goods manufacturing business.
Leather goods.
Leather goods, yeah, manufacturing business.
So was this part of the fashion industry?
Yeah, yes, and novelty.
Okay. And it didn't survive. And what was the second one?
The second one was my first publishing business.
Now, I was quite surprised when I did Google you because your books came up. So, how many books have you written?
More than 20.
Wow.
Yeah, but
And
they're really boring technical books.
they're all technical on technology.
Yeah, they're technology and project management.
And project management.
Yeah,
Okay,
project management is
cool.
woven through there.
Hmm.
Yeah, in fact, it was doing real estate. I did my first real estate development projects at the same time I created my publishing business.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I had one of the most creative deals that anybody could ever imagine. It was like ninja creative. And
Gotta tell us. You
all
can't
these
just
years
say that.
until I met Pace, I only thought of it as desperation financing, and it was to me,
Desperation
like,
financing.
oh, look at how
That's actually
creative
not
I
a bad.
was.
It's
But
not a bad name.
truly desperation drove the creativity.
Wow. Well, tell us about the
All
deal.
right, so I got a 10-unit building that I well, I rented a couple of units. The success of the launch of that publishing business demanded that I find a new space to put it in, especially since the space I used to start with didn't even have heat, and we're talking New England, and right, Cape
Sorry.
Cod.
Oh
And
my, Cape
so
Cod?
I found a building, I found space that would really adapt well. It needed about $50,000 worth of work. And we're talking about the 80s. That's a lot of freaking money in the 80s, right? 50 grand. And the owner of the building, the landlord, absolutely refused to do any improvements for me. So I said, okay, if I'm going to put this kind of money in this building, I need a purchase option. In 2 years, when my lease runs up, I'm going to buy this building. So I got a purchase option in the lease, and I had a fixed price. And this was earlier in the 80s when the interest rates were over 12, they were running 15, 16%. So you can imagine how that
Right.
was depressing real estate values, not unlike the way it is today. This is the highest we've seen rates since that time. And so when it came time to exercise the option, the bank would not give me all the money I needed to take the building down myself. So I got this brilliant
They wouldn't
idea.
lend on it?
What's that?
They wouldn't lend on it?
Well, they would lend, but my business was just 2 years old. So I was just bankable. I just got to the threshold where I was bankable. And they would not lend the full amount I needed. So I came up with the idea, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to, and this is months before I had to exercise my option because I was smart enough to not wait till the last minute to figure out what I'm going to do. And I decided that back then there was a craze that people were converting everything with multi-units to condos. That
Oh,
was the beginning of the condo craze back in the 80s. So I said, you know what? I'm going to convert this building to condos. And I'm sure I can. There were 5 residential units, 5 commercial units. So 5 over 5. And I felt certain that if I converted to condos, I could sell 1 or 2 of the commercial units to raise the rest of the money I needed to buy the building, even with the limited financing. So I hired an engineer so they do all the as-built, and essentially you're doing a subdivision of a
right.
property, right? So you need the maps, and then you need the legal work. So I hired an attorney to do the legal work, the bylaws, the CC&Rs, all of that work. And while I'm working with the attorney, he of course has to know my plan and what I'm up to. And he says, you know what? How about if you sell me the 5 residential units? I'll take the 5 if you're willing. And I said, you got it.
Wow. So
So
the attorney that was doing all the work for you saw the wisdom and said, I'm in. I want the top 5.
yeah, he said, I want the residential units. I said, fine, sold, done. This is what, we quickly agreed to a price. So we go to the closing and I buy the building, convert it to condos and sell 5 of the units all in one sitting, one signing.
Nice.
Bang, one closing, just like
Wow.
that.
Wow. That is pretty sweet. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
Especially
pretty.
with the Pace must have been, was he even born?
No, Pace wouldn't have been born yet.
He wasn't even born.
No, he wasn't
Creative
born.
financing. Gary created creative financing, guys.
Creative financing is not new. Nothing
Well, you
in the
called it
world of real estate
desperation
is,
financing.
yeah, desperation financing. But people have been creative in real estate for years and years and years, decades, millennia probably, certainly for centuries.
Yeah,
Almost all laws spring forth from real estate laws. So
yeah.
is, we think we're reinventing the world out here. We're really not.
Right. I have to agree. When you think of countries like Europe and China and all everywhere around the world, they were doing this stuff. America's a young country and has young laws and thinks that whenever they come up with something that it's the first time. Yeah, I hear you. Wow, that is a pretty sweet deal. And at that was at the same time as you started your publishing. You were
I was 2 years into the publishing business when I did that closing. And then I bought another multi-unit building, uh, 9 units. Well, it ended up being 9. It was 6 when I bought it, 6 residential units. But when I saw the building, my vision was bring the residential up one dormer out the attic space and move the residential so that I could turn the first floor into commercial units
commercial.
because it
So
was
you
in a
like
commercial
mixed use.
zone. Mixed use, yeah. Well, the cool thing about doing mixed use, and I was doing condominiums at the time, was I could sell the prime commercial units before I even finished the residential units.
Nice.
So the first thing I did when I locked that up was find my first buyer.
And was this also in Cape Cod?
Yes, it was same town. So
Is that where
and
you
I
grew up? Cape Cod?
no
Okay, because Cape Cod's
no
beautiful. I love Cape Cod.
no, I like going out there. I went to I one of the schools I dropped out of was BU, so it brought me up to Massachusetts. But I started a business because I was kind of bored with college and something to keep me actually busy. And the business started working, and that was sucking all my time. So I said, "To hell with college." I'm the only person I know that drops out of college on the dean's list. I did it.
Well, I
Shame
could
on
go
me.
on about little Alexis Morgan, but I won't. Anyhow, so tell me this. I'm interested in knowing, when did you get into the fashion industry? You did the leather goods. What else did you do in the fashion industry? I never would have,
I never would have expected it either, but my mother dragged me into it. And,
sorry.
in a way, she needed help. She wanted mother was my entrepreneurial inspiration.
Nice.
She, after a divorce and raising, 3 kids, I watched her she was one of the very first personal shoppers.
Oh, cool.
And she talked her way into the designer showrooms. She, found the customers, and she built like a $3 million business that she ran out of the house.
Wow.
She
3 million
would,
out of the home. And back then, that's a lot.
yeah, she was amazing. She could sell like nobody. And her clients they would go to a private showing of Donna Karan or Calvin Klein or, any of these top designers, and some of them would spend 30 grand in one showroom.
Oh my God.
I mean, can you imagine the size of the closet you have to have? And the way that they spent money on wardrobe, you knew it was not humanly possible that they were ever going to wear every one of those garments that they bought.
Yeah.
But they have it available. But these are very wealthy women who,
Yep.
would basically stock up and then they'd sell it off or whatever they did, because they do this every year.
Yep. Yep.
And not all of her clients had money like that, but a lot of them did. And she wanted to start her own line,
Cool.
and she wanted to sell it through trunk shows. She wasn't the first to do that, but she asked me to help her, and I did. So that's how I thought I was just going to be there for the startup, put in the systems, the computer systems, help her get it going. But I ended up running it with her for a while.
Did you have a brand? Like, what was was it a white label, or what? Did you have a brand?
It was a brand called Juliana.
Juliana.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
She had one false run at it, and her manufacturing partner kind of walked away from it because they got a contract to produce jeans for real large. I forget which one was it. It wasn't Guess, but something like it was a major brand name, and so he said, look, I've got to go with this. I'm going to make a fortune over here. And so then she had to find another manufacturing partner, but it worked for a while.
Was that when things were still made in the U.S.?
This line started out made in the U.S. because there were small manufacturing runs, but as it progressed, they moved manufacturing. I think, if I recall correctly, went to Romania, and then the Orient.
Wow. That must have been a lot of fun for your mom, and I'm glad that you had a chance to help her. That's awesome.
Well, it was fun working with her.
Yeah.
It was great.
And how did you get, like, you'd already had the 110 unit that you sold off to the 5 of them to the realtor, and you got a 9 unit. So did you just keep building a portfolio over the years?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't building a portfolio. They were all for resale.
Okay.
That's probably a mistake I made. I should have, built a portfolio, but I didn't want to be the landlord. I really didn't want to be the landlord. And I didn't want to be, permanently hitched to property I might not want to stay close to. But there was money to be made in developing them.
Right.
So I did a few other buildings in that area. And I did some remodels for other people. So I remodeled a really beautiful 1800s guest house on the water for a friend of mine.
Wow.
And I did, and then out here in Palm Springs back in the early 90s, I did a resort hotel with a food and beverage operation, remodeled that and built the business back into something sellable.
Nice. So you moved from the East Coast to Palm Springs area in the 90s? Is that
Early 90s. I moved back east for a while, and then as soon as I could get back here, I did. Took my first opportunity, which was back in 2011.
And now, are you in Palm Springs now?
Yeah, I'm in Rancho Mirage, but that's 2 towns. There's 1 town in between me and Palm Springs.
Got it. So you like that area?
Love it. I love the desert. I got to live at the beach for a long time, and now I get the desert. They're 2 most beautiful things to wake up to in the morning to me, either the beach or the desert.
I can agree with the beach, but the desert, I don't know. It's so brown. I mean, Palm Springs isn't, but my son lives near Joshua Tree in 29 Palms, and I visited. And I will say that the sunsets are spectacular, but I don't know. Just
Your son lives so close to me. I didn't know that. See, now I learned something new about you, Fe. I was up in Morongo Valley yesterday. Actually, I sold out. I think I just sold a house there.
nice. Yeah, I'm surprised at how expensive homes are there. But it's
Not
too
They're
monochrome.
they're expensive compared to what? Because
Yeah.
they're very, as far as California homes go, they're fairly inexpensive, especially 29 Palms.
Oh yeah,
29
29
is
Palms,
not
yes, but I
expensive.
wouldn't buy in. I didn't like 29 Palms enough to buy. It's small.
29 Palms is there because of
The
the
Army base.
Marine base.
Yeah, the Marine base. But the Joshua Tree is nicer, and they've got pretty pricey homes.
And Yucca Valley is really where the action is in the high desert.
That's
And
right.
Morongo Valley is right before it.
Mhm.
And the properties in Morongo Valley have just these extraordinary views. Many of the properties.
Yeah.
The one
But
I just sold.
I like gardening too much. I like green. And now Palm Springs is green, but there's something objectionable to it about when I was flying in and all I saw was, desert. I was obviously in the desert and flying for miles and miles and miles and seeing nothing but brown. And then all of a sudden it's green and blue because every house has a pool. And I was like, hey, what's going on?
There are a lot of pools here, right?
Yeah, and it just seems like a disproportionate amount of resources would have to be used to make the desert that way. And I'm like, I want to be by the beach. You have all the water you want, but it's not going to, I mean, obviously it could be salt water or fresh water. But, the thing is that there was something I didn't think was natural enough about it. It bothered me.
Well,
But it's beautiful.
unfortunately, there's a massive aquifer under the desert here. There are natural hot springs in parts of the desert here. So, yeah, a lot
Not
of us who live
Arizona,
here,
huh?
one of the first things I did when I bought this house was xeriscape, most of it.
You
So
did.
there are a lot of us that agree that there shouldn't be grass here. There's way, except for maybe the golf courses, but what people
And
grow.
lots of golf courses. I couldn't get over how many golf courses.
Oh yeah, this is one of the golfing capitals of the world.
Right.
But a lot of us would agree with you, Effie, that a lot of people live here that people should stop growing lawns. We don't need lawns here.
Right. Right. Well, I do think that, I'm good with growing your own garden. I like that. And I like flowers, but grass itself, especially in arid areas, are difficult. So when you came back out, and did you get your real estate license right away? Because I know you have a real estate license.
I've only had my real estate license for about 16 months, something like that.
Why did you get it? Are you selling homes?
Oh yeah. Well, when I decided to get it, I looked at all the flips I did. I tried to evaluate 2021, and I looked at my performance I did four flips in 2021, and that's also 2020 is when I joined the mentorship shortly after, a few months after Pace started it.
Wow. How many
And
people were in the group when you joined?
I don't know. I think it was around when it ticked over 200. So I was already a member. Now of course there's over 10,000 people.
Over 11, almost 12.
Yeah, I can't keep up with it. But I looked at what would have put more money in my pocket and made my life easier. What's the one thing I could have done differently in my business? And I reached a conclusion with hands down having a license. I tried to find a realtor or a real estate agent to work with to help me with acquisitions.
Mhm.
And I said, look, I want to buy $2 million worth of real estate next year, to a number of them. And I said, I would love it if somebody would just take responsibility for finding those properties. I couldn't get anyone to do the work. I couldn't. And I was like, laugh. It's hysterical. It is. It's laughable. It's like, okay, if I'm going to buy $2 million worth of real estate, how much am I going to sell? Right? If that 2 million is going to turn into 3 point something, right?
Exactly.
3.2, 3.4, and you get it on the front side and on the back side, there's a decent amount of money for a real estate agent to make just with one client. And that's just a starting point. I could not find anyone to help me who wanted to do the work, who wanted to make the mindset shift from retail real estate to investor real estate, which
Wow,
meant they had to learn how to underwrite the deals, how to comp them in a very specific way, not just, most of them run these CMA reports that are canned, that come, and that, like,
and they're like, but wait, I pressed the button.
yeah, they'll include all of these comps that are totally irrelevant. The software thinks they're relevant, but I needed somebody who wanted to learn to be more critical than that, and I couldn't find them. And the other frustrating thing was, anytime I wanted to look at an on-market house, I had to find a door opener, a human door opener. Now I got the app on here,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
beep, 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 beep. I open the lockbox and nothing stands in my way. Plus, I can use my real estate business card to get through the front gates if it's a gated community with a guardhouse.
Mhm. So, did you manage to meet your goal of what you wanted to buy or not?
Well, okay, so this was the end of 2021. So I took the first quarter of 2022 to do the coursework.
Mhm.
Some serious coursework,
Mhm.
right? You got 3 45-hour courses, they're college level courses. You got to put in the time to learn the material,
Yep.
which is fine. I love learning. And then you got to set aside some study time. Back then it took over a month when the real estate market was rocking and rolling. Everybody wanted to go get a license, so it took like 6 weeks to get an appointment to take the test. Now you can get it the next day.
Wow. Okay.
And
Interesting. Interesting.
Dave Rubarth, I like his comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess realtors are still just, not willing to. Well, I shouldn't say all realtors, because I know that we have a number of realtors in sub 2 and they do work really hard. But generally speaking, they do not. And and they think they've got a captive audience. So that can be frustrating. So then when you spent the first quarter getting your license, and then you're off and running on your own?
Pretty much. I did have a false start with a broker. Part of what I was, trying to accomplish was, I realized one thing, that I did not have enough money, enough liquidity to get the flip business up to a velocity that could support me, right? And so I realized, until I have more liquidity, I need, or let's say a deep pocket partner, someone to bring in and partner with. I needed something more transactional. And I realized, the funniest thing was that at the time, Caleb Christopher was asking all these questions, and they were oddly the same questions I was asking myself, because I realized that the sub 2 community needed transactional help. But I came to the conclusion,
Teamwork.
came to the conclusion that this transactional support was best provided with a license, with a fully brokered solution, rather than just as a TC.
Well, that's interesting, because Molly is a realtor too, right? She's got a real
Yes,
estate license. And I
wisely,
would say that,
wisely so.
yeah, and I would say she's probably the best. Did Caleb have his real estate license?
No,
Okay.
no, he
Because
was.
most
I
people
tried to convince him. I tried to convince him. Hey, Caleb, get a license, or let's do this together. But he's he had his plan, and he stuck to it. He provided in the process, he provided the community an enormous amount of value with
Yeah.
the education stuff that he did.
Mhm.
So, I have nothing but respect for
Yeah,
Caleb,
he did do a
but
lot.
we didn't agree on how to track on that. Now, the fact that I'm doing that kind of work through a brokerage means that right away I have an expense, a base expense. I have to pay the brokerage for, each transaction. And that's more than some people are charging for the TC service.
You mean the brokerage will have a set fee for what you have to charge that they want to collect before from any kind of transactional?
And any transaction that I complete, I have to pay the brokerage out. And I'm very fortunate to have,
You need to add your fee on top of that.
right. So I need to make money on top of that. The difference is I can do a contract legally. That, in order to do contracts for other people, there in California, in every state, you either need a law license or you need a real estate license. And realtors are obliged to use the state forms because that keeps us out of trouble. We're not attorneys. We're not supposed to be drafting contracts from scratch. And, it's a limited license to practice law within, a certain framework. And, um, you know, filling out a contract, negotiating a contract, advising people on contracts, even showing property, these are licensed activities,
That's true.
right? These are all activities that require a license. And the other thing I realized that in order to have the proper level of E&O coverage, I needed that brokerage umbrella because I can't even buy that level of insurance as an unlicensed solo person.
They won't sell it to you?
No,
It's not
no,
available.
no. But they won't. No E&O insurer is going to cover you when you're doing activities that require a license without a license, right?
Oh, I get you.
Even if somebody writes a policy, they can say, "Well, I'm not covering you. You were behaving illegally.
Yeah.
You were operating outside the realm of what you're allowed to do." An insurer is going to,
Yeah.
you have to have a legal purpose, just like a contract.
Is that in every state or is it just
Yeah,
California?
every state, and that's because of NAR and their influence.
Mhm.
Those are all activities that require licenses. Now, there are some states that have it was interesting. I was listening. I always try to catch Sean Sinclair and Andy Fowler's
Right. Their
um,
Zoom,
their,
their podcast. Yeah.
NREM podcast, and they devoted one. Almost felt like it was a response to all the TC explosion lately. What's the difference between an attorney and a TC? Well,
A
that's a
lot.
loaded question, right?
A lot. How many
Anyway,
years? How much money?
so yeah, right. Like about $400 an hour at least.
Oh, minimally, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, you know, I knew that I wanted to be able to provide that brokered solution. And the benefit is, I have a broker who looks over my shoulder like a mother hen, and she's wonderful, but she reviews every document I produce. And then there's a corporate, we're a publicly traded company. There's a corporate layer behind that also does Q&A. So I have these two teams functioning, providing quality assurance for my work, making sure I don't screw up. I have the California Association of Realtors. Every time someone gets sued or there's a tweak in the statutes, they're right away adjusting the contracts, changing the disclosure stack. So all of that benefits the seller, the buyer, me, everybody who participates. And I think that benefit's worth paying for a little bit more for. Right?
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, do My understanding is that in some states, and I don't know if it's California also, that title companies will have TCs.
Well, they don't have to be called TC. Title companies have assistants. I can have an assistant.
I see. Okay.
I can have a TC,
But they
but
don't write up contracts.
right.
Gotcha.
But if I were going to start hiring people to really support me well, I would be looking for licensed people. There are a lot of licensed realtors who, turns out they're not good at sales. They don't like sales, whatever. This is a better role for them.
Yep.
They're more integrators than salespeople, or and they
Right.
like doing that. So I would endeavor to bring on people with licenses, and that's really my vision for what I'm doing now, scaling out and up, usually using licensed people.
So does that mean that you're going to get your broker's license?
I do intend to do that. And hopefully by June, my goal is by June of next year to have a broker's license. But I'm not doing that because I need it to pursue the business that I'm doing right now, because I can do that on the platform that I'm already using. The brokerage platform that I'm on with Fathom. I can
Okay.
certainly do it. Fathom allows us to build teams across the country, and so it's already the realm of possibility. But I want to get the broker's license just to get the broker's license, because
Got
I
it.
can't. It's like stopping with an associate's degree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then if am I understanding you correctly that you're hoping to bring on more um, transactional coordinators that are also real estate l- um,
Also
agents?
licensed, yes, because we're providing a much better add value.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
And even if it's more expensive, it has to be because you are paying an agency, but it's a better product. It's safer.
well, yeah, better service, better product. I want people that can help the clients, help our sub two community structure deals, that are licensed to do that. Say, hey, have you thought of maybe structuring it this way? Uh, you know, like I realized early on in my practice that I didn't want to allow sub two deals to go out there without securing the seller's position. Now that's the standard in sub two. When we started, nobody really knew any better, right? But I realized that there was a way to do this and that it needed to be done. And in fact, recently I've teamed up with a lawyer now.
Oh, in sub two or just outside?
Um, uh, it's for my real estate practice. So I brought, I had a heart to heart with my title people, and they were giving. How what brought it about is they were giving me a hard time about uh, mirror wraps.
Oh,
It's like, well, we can't do an AITD without stuffing the turkey with something else. It was like, well, you need a turducken to wrap. Your wrap means you're wrapping more than just the one loan. And I kept saying no. Even look at the car docs. They even have it's all laid out right in the car seller financing documents that we use, that those security interests are there. It even goes as far as saying, well, if the due on sale clause is called or the loan is accelerated, who's responsible for defending that? Is it the buyer or the seller?
and
That's
what does it say in the mirror wrap in
Well,
California?
it doesn't specify mirror wrap, but it provides for providing the wrap around just the sub two loan. and write in the documents. And I said, so I would go to them, well, why would the car docs be written this way if it wasn't a thing? You know? So we agreed that it would probably be best to bring in an attorney. And because of that, my escrow agent introduced me to this attorney. And I'm like so thrilled to have Paul as a new partner to work with. So he is going to write all of those documents. So how much better do I feel now that I've got an attorney doing that stuff? Like I got my own Sean St. Clair, and he has that level of experience.
Nice.
You know, right? So it makes me feel really great to have that talent and extra protection on board.
I think that's fantastic. So you and Paul are partnering up, and are you going to work on the building this group?
Well, right
This
now I just started working with him to do the AITDs, all of them.
The what? I'm sorry.
The AITDs. So that's the vehicle that we use for a wrap.
Okay.
It's an all-inclusive trust deed.
Okay.
For those of you listening don't know, there are trust deeds, which standard or deeds of trust that securitize your loans, and an all-inclusive trust deed is the vehicle that wraps those, whether you're wrapping a single note or multiple notes.
Gotcha.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So, and well, I think that is pretty cool. I have an idea that again, just like when you first started pushing the concept that sub-2 deals need to be secured, maybe this is something that will also take off, because as much as we are on the creative end and outside the box, the community at whole, the world, will accept us much more if we can somehow work the way that within their structure as much as possible.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. This takes off. All this is just raising the level of service in terms of having a qualified attorney draft these documents.
Nice.
Rather than using escrow or title. And title has attorneys, but someone who's special, like Pace does, he uses. It's no different than what Pace is doing with Andy and Sean, to make sure that the legal documents are up to date. Look, if you listen to Sean, if you listen to people like Seshker or Scott Horn, they all say, you should, if you're using customized legal documents, at least twice a year, they should be reviewed, right? All of your legal documents need to be reviewed at least twice a year. Now that happens automatically in most states by either the real estate commission, such as in Texas, or usually the Association of Realtors are focusing on that. But I know I've got somebody who will be providing that level or higher of oversight over the documents we're using. So that's what it's all about. And Josh Keating, by the way, the answer to your question is not just for California. This is every state in the country.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah, you need the AITD, unless it's a mortgage state and not a trust deed state, then it's called something else, but the construct is still the same.
Oh, very interesting. Out of curiosity, with having Paul acting as an attorney, will that cut down some of the expenses that you have to pay to title companies and such?
Well, it cuts out a cost to the title company, but I'm afraid the title company was a little cheaper than Paul's going to be.
Oh, I'm sure, but I'm just wondering if you still get hit twice or not.
It increases the level of service, it increases the level of trust, and increases the cost a little bit. It's worth it, right?
Yep. Oh, so you met David in person, did you, Gary?
Are you coming to the next one, Dave? Yeah, well, we got one coming up next Sunday. It's
So
coming
you will
Sunday.
meet
Yeah,
us in the desert, huh? Okay.
yeah,
This is interesting.
this coming Sunday. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And let's not forget the mastermind. I don't know how many of you are coming to the mastermind, but I know I'm going to be there and Gary's going to be there. That's pretty cool for
yeah.
sure.
I was really honored that they allowed me to come back,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't even
especially
ask.
considering that I was just there in May.
Oh, I didn't even ask him. I'm just going.
Oh, okay.
Get ready. I'm going. Uh,
That's called crashing, Effie.
that's right. That's right. I figure, who's going to throw me out? Are they going to actually pick me up and throw me out? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah. Oh, Melissa's coming. Oh, yay. Good. Oh, and that's funny, Josh. My better half will be there. He's talking about his partner, Benjamin, I think. So that's pretty cool for sure. And Melissa, you'll get to meet Gary in person. Woohoo! And what does he say? That will make a great reel. Yes, you're right. I'll tell you what, Mike, if you make it as a reel, I'll pay you and I'll just keep posting it on Facebook until New Reach says, we heard that you said we wouldn't throw you out. And that's going and I'll be like, I'm heavier than you think. That's funny. Anyhow.
Plus,
So
you got claws, right?
a clause, yeah.
Well,
Not really, but whatever.
you got a cat, so you got claws.
That's right. Well, Pace said we can go back. I'm going back, especially since I do believe it's going to be the last one. And I hope I'm proven wrong so I can go again.
Well, you know what? I think the mastermind, Pace's mastermind, provides such a valuable experience to the people who opt to go there. I would hate to see it discontinued. I could see him wanting to evolve it, and maybe pull back a little bit for himself because, holy crap, is his, he's on every radar scope right now. When he showed up in the Fathom in that one of the presentations at Fathom Summit, I was like, Pace, you're everywhere. He's omnipresent. It's
That's
just
right.
it's like
Yep.
right. I'm sitting in my hotel room and I hear, "Hi, I'm Pace Morby," and hey, Pace, you're in my hotel room, and it was like I forgot I had A&E on, and
That's hysterical. That is hysterical. Yeah. And then, he needs a little bit more rest because last time I saw him, he wasn't feeling well, and you get worn down, you get worn down for sure going to all those things. But yeah, for sure. Well, from the time I met you, Gary, I may not have told you this, but from the time I met you, I knew that anything I do in California will be going through your hands, or should I say your pocket.
oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
No, I just,
From the moment I met you, Effie, I knew I wanted to be your friend.
oh, now, come on. You just saying that to get on the show again.
No, no, you just have a way about you, an aura. That's
Thank
why I want you to come on, why you're coming on this Wednesday with Patrick and I to talk to the baby elephants about building relationships, networking, because you've wormed your way into everybody's heart one way or the other.
I don't know about
You're
that.
just amazing at that.
Well, but I did put it on my calendar as 3 p.m. PST.
Yes.
Yep.
6
I
p.
will be
Well, 5 for you, right? Your Central Time.
Yes, that's right. It's
Right.
5 for me.
5 o'clock.
So, yeah. And by the way, in case you're watching this in the future, it is not a tit for tat that if you come on mine, I will come on yours. I only did that for Gary, meaning he asked me and I couldn't say no. But I am really,
Who
really,
asked first?
I think I asked you to come on.
Did you?
No, wait a minute. No,
I
you
thought I
did.
asked you
You
first.
asked me first. And I told you the truth. I said, many people have
And
asked.
the same is true. It's not a tit for tat.
That's true. That's true. And I did say that, many people have asked to come on to my podcast, and you are the first person I have said yes to who asked. That's funny. So, Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. But I look forward to being able to buy in California because I love California. And the bottom line is that no one can do it any better, even without the attorney. No one could do it any better. But
Well,
I
I
think
thank
it's
you for the
wise to
vote.
have.
I thank you for the vote of confidence. That's very sweet of you to say.
I think if we polled sub 2, that's exactly what would happen. They
Well,
would absolutely say the same thing.
no one will work harder for you, that's for sure.
Aw, thank you. Thank you. And
Anyway, this is going to be one of our shorter conversations.
I know. We actually have to end. It's kind of funny. But, what can I say? We'll have, just have to do it again. Oh my
Well, it
God.
was a lot of fun for
Yes,
sure.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And
David, come to the meetup Sunday. You're coming, I hope.
well, I think he's on the spot now. It's kind of hard for him to say no. Uh, oh, all right. So, Melissa, I'm sorry I'm crashing your conversation. And yes, Josh, we still have to do ours for sure. Anyhow, all right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming. Any last words to our guest? Or Gary, do you have any last words for our viewers?
I don't know about for the viewers, but for you, I've totally enjoyed this. This was so much fun just kibitzing with you for an hour
Thank you.
in front of cameras.
That's true. And you know what? We both have professional mics. I was saying
We have the same mics. Mine's white, yours is gray, basically.
right,
And mine's
right.
fully digital, yours is analog. So you need that
Oh,
converter device. But
yep. Thank you, Mike. You're very right. Let me
you
see
can,
about that.
my online presence needs the help of somebody like you, Mike.
There we go on Facebook. And here he is for IG. Thank you,
Yeah, but
Mike. I would have been mad at myself.
I'm not much of an Instagram person. So
But that's okay. I also saw that you did not have you don't have anything on YouTube yet, right?
I do have quite all my
Thank you, Josh.
baby elephant stuff is on, and I just haven't made the channel public, but there's hours and hours and hours of content on
Oh, okay.
YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right. Well,
one of these days I'll actually turn it into a public content.
good. Good. And if and when you do, if you want this, you can let me know and I'll send you the link and you can put it on your own YouTube also. So, yeah, that's the way to go. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming. And I hope I see you next week when we have Melissa Palmer. And Gary, thank you so, so much for your kindness.
My pleasure.
You're welcome. And now we're going to do the outro. And you and I, please don't disconnect. I want to debrief. Thank you, everyone. Bye.